today we're very fortunate. I'm excited to have Christel Crawford come and speak to us. She is the program manager for Parents as Teachers, which is our local home visiting program, which is housed out of the Knox County Health Department. And she's going to talk to us about that program, how to access it, what they do, and they do phenomenal work. So I'm really excited to kind of help her get the word out about all the awesome work they're doing. So Christel, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Corwin. I'm super excited to be here and talk about Parents as Teachers. I have to tell you all that I feel like when I go and I speak to people about this program that I don't think a lot of people know. So I'll be curious at the end when we have time for questions to see if you all have heard about this before. Because I think this is just me, and I think Dr. Corwin will probably laugh when I say this, but I think this is one of Knox County's best kept secrets. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see my presentation. Okay, so as you know, my name's Christel. I work for the program manager for Parents as Teachers. And just to give you a little bit of history, so Parents as Teachers started here. It was probably nearly 20 years ago, but it wasn't under the name of Parents as Teachers. It was under the name of Birth to Kindergarten. And so that was in the school system. That's where it started. But Parents as Teachers is actually, it started nationally in St. Louis, and you can find Parents as Teachers all over the world. There's Parents as Teachers affiliates in Germany, in the UK, in Australia. So it's definitely a program that's caught on, and that's, seems to be well liked, and it's evidence-based. So that's a pretty big thing. For me, I started out with Parents as Teachers in 2016 as a parent educator. And then a couple of years in, I moved up to the lead or the supervisor. And then about 2 years, I guess this June, we'll be stepping into the place of program manager. So definitely a program that's near and dear to my heart. For me, I just feel like there's such a it's such a space that you can reach people with this program. So for us, so our vision is that all children will learn and grow and develop to realize their full potential. And we work really hard in this program to make sure that that vision is accomplished with all the families we serve. Our mission is to empower, support, and encourage parents as their child's first and most influential teacher, and so that their children may have the best opportunity to succeed in life. Values: we're providing outstanding evidence-based services to the families in our community, and we always strive to exceed the quality standards and compliance. And I'll talk a little bit more about that because it's actually quite there's a lot with it. It's not just home visiting. There's so much more that goes into it. So we always strive to maintain, to be honest and fair, and keep and always confidential with our team members and our families. We're wanting to move families and the community towards generational change, one family at a time. And of course, for us, we want to insist upon innovation in our evidence-based practice. And I will tell you that that's something that's definitely come with COVID. It kind of allowed us to do that. We'd always thought about what would it look like if we could do some virtual visits in addition to our home visits. And as you all know, and then here we are meeting on Zoom, we got the opportunity to do that. And then finally, our approach. We have an approach. Parents as Teachers National, Parents as Teachers in general, is really facilitating and reflecting. And with that, that's a parallel process. And so really with us, we are, we're working with our families to reflect. The parent educators are working with their advisors to help have that space to be able to reflect and kind of think about what's going on with the families. And of course, we're supporting them. And then, in my role, I'm supporting the supervisor. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Some of our goals is that we want to make sure that we're increasing parent knowledge of early childhood development and improve parenting practices. We want to provide early detection of developmental delays and health issues. Of course, we're preventing child abuse and neglect. And we want to increase the child's readiness and school success. And then finally, another goal, and a very big goal, is to increase their literacy rate. So a goal for them, all families that come on board with parents as teachers, is that they're going to be reading, to their children 20 minutes a day. And, at first we get some really big eyes, like, that's a lot. And, we start when, if we get a mom that comes on when she's pregnant, then we're starting then. And sometimes that can be a little funny because they look at us like, you want us to read to the baby? The baby's not here yet. So, but we love, and I mean love, getting them when they're pregnant, because as you all know on this call, the earlier the better, right? So now, looks like a lot, but it's our logic model. And so, parents as teachers, in order for it to be, evidence-based and be effective, there's a lot of things that kind of guide our work, right? So, if we look at the inputs, there's implementing agency leadership and support, and having qualified supervisors and parent educators that are trained. So when I talk about that, for our parent educators, they have to have a bachelor's degree, and we really, really, really look for people that have had that work one-on-one in the homes with families. Another piece, and this isn't on here, but this is my piece, is that I want their heart. So like when I hire people, I want them to have a love for this kind of work, because I'm not sure if this is going to resonate with you guys, and maybe it's just me, but I'll tell you, in this line of work, and especially with going into homes, people either love it or they hate it. And there's generally not an in-between. And so while I need them to have the education and the experience, I need them to really have the heart. And that's something to keep tucked away, guys, because I'm actually going to I have 2 open positions that I'm going to be posting soon. So if anybody knows anyone, you could send them my way. Anyway, all right. So next we've got the participants, the families with the children. And so with this, I will tell you that Parents as Teachers National, think of it like, if you have a franchise, right? So we have a franchise, and then you have all of the little, you have the main, so we say McDonald's, which we're not McDonald's, but then you have the franchise, and they may do things a little different. So with us, we serve families when they're pregnant, and we can serve them all the way until they go to school. So that could be 5, that could be 6. However, there are some agencies that are PAT affiliates that actually serve them through kindergarten. So, and that's something that I've toyed with a little bit. I'm still too new in this role to get there, but, there is a thought of what would that look like? Because, when we know that 3rd grade is that benchmark, right? And so I will tell you that with our Parents as Teachers families, when they go into kindergarten, simply because of the intentionality behind what we do with the parents and what they're doing with their kiddos, they will do better. And they will, at first, like in kindergarten, they're scoring ahead of their peers. But the thoughts are, maybe we might look at, going through kindergarten. Right now, that's not a thing, but that is something that other ones do. So it's good to know. Has technology. We want to make sure everybody has what they need. Obviously, we must, because I'm talking to you right now. So it's a good thing. But sustainable funding, our funding is TANF funding. So that is where we are at this moment. And like I said, we've been at different places. We were at the schools, then we were under Great Schools, which is Knox Ed. And then eventually in 2019, we came, we were through the state and managed through the health department here in Knox County. So I will tell you, lots of policies and procedures and protocols. Before I came on board with this program, I did home visiting before. I also was a child abuse investigator before that. And I thought that, I knew what evidence-based home visiting was, and I did not. It's very different than just us going in to do a home visit, not to take away from, just a home visit. But, I remember my director, when I first came on board, she said, Christel, I know that you know what home visiting is, and you think you know what this job is, but it's going to be about 3 years before you realize. And I thought, I was nice, but I thought, I know. She was right. It was 3 years. So anyway, so again, we have the policies and procedures community partners and support, that's a big piece of how we work, because we're wanting to just be able to partner with everyone to kind of see how can we reach the community and how can we partner together to do that. And Parents as Teachers, it does that and does that well. I feel they give us that just the framework to do it. We have an advisory board that pretty much just kind of, we meet twice a year, and they're just helping guide, really. And then we do continuous CQI like most places, I believe. So let's go back. Let's kind of switch into the activities now, though. I mentioned earlier that there's this parallel process. And so that starts, of course, within reflective supervision and of course, their professional development. With our parent educators, not only do they have to have what I told you earlier, they also have to have, they have to be certified. So I bring somebody on, and they've got to go through 2 different certifications before they can ever go into the home. And then on top of that, for Knox County, we have probably, it's just been implemented this year, but I would say it's probably at least 2.5 months training local that we're doing for them. So they're very well prepared before they go out. We have the personal visit, we have group connections, screenings, resources, and I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about that more in depth in a slide or 2 later. But you see all of this, you can see that there's a lot that goes into it. Many things, and all of them are important in order for it to be effective, right? Because when we look at our short-term outcomes, with parents as teachers, families, they have healthier pregnancies and improved birth outcomes. Of course, that's the intentionality. We're talking to them about a healthy pregnancy, how to have that, encouraging them to go see the doctor, talking to them about, what approaching birth and what that looks like. So there's lots of things that we're talking about to them or with them. And then, of course, we're trying to help them prepare for what's it going to be like when the child gets here, and things to expect that maybe they hadn't never thought about. We are really looking for, just early identification of possible delays. And, with that, we do developmental screenings that are, we do them. We have very specific timeframes that we're doing them. At the very minimum, it's twice a year, but that's actually from 3 on. Prior to that, it's more like it's often. I'll just say that it's often. So we want to make sure that we're catching any of those, because as we all know on this call, the sooner you catch those, the better. We still do have some families that resist a little bit, and for just different reasons. And so that's where this partnership with them helps to get them kind of moving in the right direction. So anyway, it's another outcome: increased parent knowledge of appropriate child development. And that really helps in the things you can see. But like one area that I would say that's pretty big is with regard to potty training and discipline. Those are 2 areas where maybe people don't really understand what's appropriate and what's not. And so then that's where you can get into some problems. So, with us, we're working to try to help them to understand, so that they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense, instead of, well, I thought this, or maybe they're thinking the child is just trying to be, to try them. And we're like, no, that's not, they're not where they need to be yet. So anyway, again, as you can see, there's many things here: improved parenting capacity, parenting practices, the parent-child relationship, all of those things. We look at health, social emotional health, connections. And so you're going to see improved child health and development. You're going to see reduced rates of child abuse and neglect, definitely increased school readiness. And in our hope, and what we do often see if families stay in, is an increased parent involvement in their child's care and their education. And then, of course, ultimately, as you can see, long-term, strong communities, thriving families, and healthy, safe children who are ready to learn. Okay, so I've kind of talked a lot about all of this, but I kind of need to just kind of help you understand. You're going to see a video in a minute that'll kind of just pull it all together, and I hope gives you a better idea. And I And I always laugh to say that I try to get my elevator speech down to a minute. It never happens because there's so much that's going on in this program. So what is the visit going to look like? So, with this, I think about how teachers have to plan, right? They're planning their visits, they're prepping for them, or they're not their visits, I guess their class. Well, our parent educators are planning their visits and they're individualized. So, you could have a family, you could have 2-3-year-olds and you could have similar activities, but there's still going to be things that are very different because we try to individualize for each child and family. And so, there's the planning process that goes into that. Reflection too, a big part of it's reflection and previewing, because let's say you've had that family for a few months. And so you're going to be reflecting on where the family is, what do they need, all those kind of things. And that all goes into the planning process. Also, another great piece about this program is that the first 8 visits are pre-planned by parents as teachers. We don't really have the control because they want to make sure that the parents understand they hit important topics like discipline, like food, like attachment, but it kind of sets the stage for what our program is so that they understand what a visit looks like. But the great thing is after that 8th visit, then parents are helping us plan a visit. So, we're ending that visit and saying, okay, so what did you like about today's visit? Okay, what did you not like? Is there something that you might change or do differently? And then we use that information then to help plan the next. We'll ask them, what kind of things would you like to do next visit? Or is there something that's on your mind that you would really like some more information about? I mean, topics that you guys probably can imagine would, range from how soon do I potty train? What are the signs? And, how long does my child need to be sleeping at night? What time should they be going to bed? When do I feed them solids? I mean, those are all things that they're going to ask and that we have the information. One thing that I haven't mentioned that I kind of want to say is that, one of the big thing with this program that I would tell you that's different than other programs I've worked in, and I've done, as I've said, I've done other programs that have done home visiting, but it's a partnership. So even though we have evidence-based research and it's up to date, and we we don't walk in as the quote unquote expert. We walk in as a person who has this information and is really developing a relationship, because it's the only way this is going to work. It's completely voluntary. It doesn't cost anything. There's qualifications we're going to talk about in just a little bit, but this program can last from, as I said, pregnancy all the way till school. So there has to be a relationship there, because if there's not, then it doesn't work. And the beauty is that it is definitely a relationship, and one that they want the parent educators to come out. And they don't feel, there's not this power dynamic where they're like, oh, my parent educator's up here and I'm down here and I don't feel like I can ask questions. They ask questions. So that's definitely a big piece of this program. Going back to this slide, parent-child activity. So the parent-child activity is kind of the big thing. You think about parents as teachers. So one of the things that happens when I go into a home is that people think I'm the teacher. You're coming to teach my child. And that's just a very common thing when they don't really understand what the program is. So what we do is we have a parent-child activity that's designed, it's for whatever the child's age is and development, where they are developmentally. And so we bring the materials, or we may ask that the parents contribute, and that isn't an expense at all, because it's usually things they have in their house, like could be an empty yogurt container, could be an empty coffee can that's like a metal one, because you can, I don't know if you thought about this, but I didn't until I came to this position or to this job. You can do a lot of things with that. I mean, it can be a noisemaker. It can be a way to practice fine motor skills. There's so many things. So we never are going to ask parents to buy anything. It's going to be something they have at their home, right? And if it's, I mean, it could be a ball, it could be anything. So, but the point about this is that they have this activity that we facilitate. So we're like, here you go. This is what this looks like. And then we're like, all right, mom, all right, dad, all right, grandma, whoever it is, that's the caregiver. Now it's your turn. And so sometimes they're just like, no, you're the teacher. And we're like, no, you're the teacher. Now, sometimes it takes a little bit, right? A few visits, because you can have some really shy people who just say, I can't do this, and we work with them and we get them there. But it is, by the time they're done with our program, it's so amazing to see, because I mean, they're just taking the lead with these kids and teaching them and getting them ready. And that's what we want to see, right? We want to be able to kind of step back and just facilitate, let them do what they are there to do. So development-centered parenting. So we're going to talk about, like I said earlier, the child's development. We're going to help them understand what they should be expecting to see, what's coming next. If they're behind, what do we need to do? What are things that we, do we need to refer? Of course, we're going to want to refer, but we're also respecting them, because there are some parents that are like, oh, let's wait a minute. But then we still keep, okay, that's fine. Let's here's some activities to do. And then we'll come back again. If you have somebody that has a child that, let's say they are behind, we'll come back and redo another developmental screening, usually 2 months later, just to see where they are. There's a lot of different things that can impact those screenings. So just want to make sure that we're not getting anything wrong. So I mentioned earlier a lot of different topics that we talk about. I just would say imagine anything to do with parenting and kids. We got it. It's there. So, and if we don't, we will do what we need to do to get, the appropriate information for them. So family well-being, that's the piece of, when you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if they don't have their needs met, then it's going to be really hard for them to listen to me. So we're working to try to make sure that all of their needs are met. So we make referrals and, try to make sure they have the needs met so they can participate. So, and that's also part of the whole connections and referrals. Excuse me. And then, of course, I don't think I mentioned this, but story time. There's a story time every single visit, and they also get a book at every visit. So we know that's so important. So, and then finally, kind of mentioned it earlier, we do a review and reflect. So we try to make sure, see what they wanted, what they liked, what they didn't, and then ask them to help plan the next visit. So, and I apologize. I'm going to have to mute myself and cough. I so apologize. All right. So now I'm going to show you a video. Now, Dr. Corwin, if for some reason you can't hear it, will you just kind of raise your hand, and that way we'll have to maybe reshare just to make sure.
It's been incredible. I tell every single person that has a little one how amazing it is.
We are an evidence-based parent education program.
Here or there? Very good.
We're like a parent coach. We're just giving them the information, encouraging them, supporting them, helping them set those goals that they need to be setting, and cheering them on when they reach the goals and setting new goals to continue.
There are certain things that I didn't know how to work with her with.
She was very frustrated because of not being able to communicate.
This program helped me a lot to understand my kids. Yeah, and encourage them to help them, because every mom needs help.
Good job. What they do those first 3 years of life really is more important than any other time in that child's life.
Even though they like to call me, the teacher's here, but it's like, I'm not the teacher, you are.
We're with them 1 or 2 times a month for an hour, hour and a half. But you know, the parent is with the child 24/7, and we just want to make sure they have the tools they need to have those educational times and show them that learning can be fun, and having fun with their child is the most important thing, and they're going to learn the most when they're involved with their child.
And I have one family that she used to just sit in the sofa and watch me play, and come on, sit here with me, you can play with her. And she would just come and try to. Now I sit in the sofa and she's the one on the floor playing, and look, and she's telling me, look, now he can do this, and look what he can. So now she's teaching me what he can do. So it's really very, very rewarding.
I mean, it changed my life, so I think everybody should do it.
Good job.
It's free. They come to you. They don't judge you. It's great, and they just help you with your child. They help you with activities and things that she leaves with me, I get to do with my child, you know, throughout the month, and she loves it.
She comes and she gives me literature that I can read and share with, you know, her father, so we're both doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, and I have my little binder that I love, and I go through it, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to accomplish before the next visit, and it's just been great.
It's helped me know where my child needs to be developmentally, which is a huge, huge deal.
We wouldn't be as happy a family, I can tell you that.
All right. Well, hopefully that can give you a little bit of an idea of what what a visit looks like. Now, I know that in this you obviously saw older children, right? We saw much older children, but one thing to think about with this is again, not good with this. Sorry, guys. I'll get there. One thing to think about that it does, what changes is that when your child turns 3 and you're in this program, then we are going to do a assessment, and it's just essentially kind of looking to see what does this child know and what do they need to do, and then that gives us a blueprint for what we need to be helping them monitor. That just helps us know, and then really the next 2 years are spent working on what the child needs to learn, and of course in a way that's just playing, because sometimes parents will think, and I have to be honest, I was guilty of this myself, you need to sit them down and they have to be structured and do, learn like this, like a workbook, and it doesn't work. Kids like to play, and so we have to bring things that teach them by playing, and so that's what we do, but that's on top of all the other things that we're kind of bringing in. And that, again, that by the time they get ready to go to school, they're good. We have children. I know this year we have about, I think it's 17 children that are graduating from our program this year that'll go to school next year. And we've got some that are already reading. So it's good. All right. So last year, just to kind of give you an idea, we served 109 families and 146 children. We did 1,076 visits. That was in person and virtual. We had 13 group meetings, and we have a 75% retention rate, and that's including people that move. So not too bad. 88% of the children are up to date on immunizations. That's a big thing, working with them. And then we had about 25 children that were referred for evaluation for delays. I mean, one of the most common delays that we see on our end is usually speech. So it could be other ones as well, but most of the time I'd say probably about 75% speech. Okay, so group meetings. I'm going to laugh about this a little bit. Dr. Corwin, I was telling him when I came on that I just did a group meeting. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a hot mess when I come to this meeting, because we did a group meeting with the library, with the downtown library. So that was a partnership where we envisioned that our parents could come and get a library card and learn about all the amazing things that the library does. And if you guys don't know, you should come down and see, because it is really cool. They provided a lunch for the kiddos. We did the activities. You know what, it had to have been at least a 30 to 45-minute story time that was engaging, where the kids were up and jumping and playing. And then they're going over to the children's section, and, you know, it's been amazing. So group meetings are simply out there. Group meetings are just meetings where we bring our parents to places like the library or to the park, or, you know, just different places and spaces where we're going to have, a lot of times we'll have some food. There'll always be activities. There will always be books. There might be some great information like we're giving them today with the library, but it's really all about getting them out, getting them meeting other families and with other kiddos, letting the kids be able to get around other kids. Because I don't know about you guys, but with COVID, there's a lot of kiddos that haven't been, if they were born in that time, they haven't been around other kids and other families. So we're doing that. And then it's all free. It doesn't cost anything for them at all. So, and this is one that we had back in, I think it was in December. It was at the Cedar Bluff Library. And that is one of the, you know, kids, they love sensory bins. That's a sensory bin. I think it had cotton in it, you know, but you know what, in the past times, it wouldn't probably be in the library, but we've done with shaving cream. The one we did today was with beans, done rice. Rice is not a favorite of mine, just because it's really hard to clean up, but anyway. Okay, so when Parents as Teachers does a survey national, they do a survey every year. But when I came on board, it was really important for me to know what parents wanted, because it's a parent-led program, and also give them a space to be able to make recommendations, and if there's any issues to talk to me. So we do a survey about every 4 months, and it's just through like a text or an email. And so 90% of the people that were responded said they would recommend Pat to a friend or a family member, which was pretty good. 100% reported they were satisfied with their visit. We heard things like, we love Pat, we're excited for our Pat visit, and my parent educator really cares about my family. And I'll be honest with you, of everything that's on here, that one is the one that I like the most. You know, because that means that they really, that they feel connected and they feel like they're being heard. So you probably want to know what's going to qualify people, right? You know, so with us, as I mentioned earlier, our funding comes from TANF dollars. So that's tied into how we can serve families, or who we can serve. So for us, as I mentioned, families prenatal to 3 years of age that meet at least one of the qualifying factors. And it says 3 years of age because I have to have 2 years, even though I'm working with them until they go to school. I have to get them in by 3 in order to have that 2 years to work with them. So low income, it could be that they have WIC, could be they have food stamps, or if they don't have any of those, then I believe it's 250% of the poverty level. So that's what that is. I don't have the income info in front of me, but I believe that's the current one. If you have a teen parent, definitely, if you have somebody that has, if there's child abuse or neglect, if they've been involved with the courts, or they're in foster care, or if they are a foster parent and have children that they're wanting to be, you know, that's wanting to be part of the program. If they've had any involvement in substance abuse. Here's an interesting one. So the tobacco, this was new. And it's, if anyone in the house, anyone, like it could be they live with their grandparents and the grandparents smoke, vape, any kind of tobacco products whatsoever, anything that qualifies them immediately. Low educational attainment, this is an interesting one too. So if you have a parent who, even though they could have graduated high school, but they feel like they didn't do too well, that would qualify them. If they have children that are older, they're in school, that they weren't doing, they didn't, you know, they're not doing well, or the parents perceive they're not, qualifies them. Next one. This one was, you know, it looks like, okay, it's very straightforward. Child with developmental delays, disabilities, or chronic health conditions. But I learned thankfully this year from the state, that we can serve families that if a parent thinks the child is delayed, we can serve them, even if they're not. Because the whole thought is they're going to treat them differently if they think they're delayed. So that is another option. And then, of course, military family. I will tell you, if you have families that are interested, I do my very best to get them on if I can. We'll have a long chat to see how we can get that to happen. So the best way, if you are interested in referring, first of all, I will make sure I send Dr. Corwin a referral form and some, oh, go ahead.
I was say, I think I have it. Do you mind? I can drop it in the chat.
Absolutely. That's fine. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Do you have the digital brochure at all?
I don't think I have that.
Okay. I can send that out as well.
Okay, and we can email it later.
Yep. And as far as this, like the best, honestly, the very best way is through this email address. Like now, if you don't want to, that's okay. You can always call and make a verbal referral, but this goes directly to me. So and so essentially what happens is you send a referral over and I am the one that calls that family and talks to them, quote unquote, sells the program. That's what I always say, because that's what, I mean, we want to make sure they're interested. So, and I also want them to know, I don't want them to get into something they're not interested in, right? I mean, it's like, okay, let's talk about what is involved in the commitment. So I talked to them about that. And then if there's an opening, I go ahead and assign them. If there's not, they go on a wait list. We just got a wait list. It's been within the last 4 weeks. It won't be long though, because when the end of the year for us is June. And so July 1, we will have had people graduate and we'll have openings. So at the very, it will be a couple of months that they may have to wait. However, when they are on our wait list, one thing that we're doing to try to, just to try to manage that wait list and to try to keep people engaged and involved, and still want the services by the time we get to them, is that I contact them monthly, make sure they don't have any needs. And then a lot of times I'll invite them to a group meeting so they can kind of see what that's like. Because what we found in the past was that families on that wait list, if they were on it a couple, 2-3 months, they might go MIA, and we don't, so anyway, so that's something we're hoping that'll change this year, that we'll be able to have most of the people on the wait list to stay. We have about, I think it's about 12 or 13 families right now on the wait list. So not too long. And then questions, there's just my email and my phone number. And then I guess now I'd be very happy to answer any questions that you all have for me, and I can stop sharing anytime or leave this up. It's up to y'all.
I was just curious. This is so helpful. I really appreciate you presenting on this, because I can't learn enough about this and can't help you get this information out fast enough. I think this program's phenomenal. What is the average age of kids that are referred to you all? Are you getting mostly little? Are you getting, does it just vary?
I mean, it varies. I would say I would love it if we could have the littles, like the prenatals. If I'm being completely transparent, honest, that's one area that we haven't been able to. We have a few, but I would say probably an average is probably maybe 1.5, 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat from Rachel. If we refer to CHANT, did they automatically get a referral to parents and teachers? I'm not familiar with CHANT, so maybe you are.
CHANT's an amazing program. CHANT is like our sister program. So no, we won't automatically get it. And when you think about CHANT, versus parents as teachers, so again, sister programs, but very different. They do really amazing work, but their work is different in that there's a lot of resource and referral, right? Because they're trying to get people stable and, get their needs met. They also do development, but it's not the same as us, where we do resource and referrals, but that's really just a piece, that's not the big thing. So we always say a lot of times, sometimes it's, if you have a family that's got lots of things going on, right? It's keep in mind that with parents as teachers, we're real focused, and there's a lot that kind of not requires, but like parents have to be very intentional. And if they've got lots of going on, sometimes it's very hard for them. So a lot of times if they go through chant first, right, and then they get to a point where they're stable, then what'll happen is chant will refer them over to us when they're ready. That makes sense?
Hey, Rachel, that can I answer your question? Sorry, I don't know. Oh, sorry. This is Kathy Fowler. Was there not a time that the only way to get parents and teachers was through chant?
Not that I know of. I'm not aware of that. And you know, I know, of course, for me, I came on in 2016, and that was, you know, I left the I guess I didn't give this information. I left the health department in 2016. I was in Hugs, which was kind of the before chant. And then of course, then chant happened and they have their different pathways, but I'm not aware of that.
I'm curious. I want to ask a question just because we're doing a training upstairs. So do you have therapies that you're referring families to if things are exceeding, you know, you all are in the home and I imagine you have families that are at risk for behavioral concern. You all have connections to places that you're connecting kids for behavioral health resources?
So yes, but we can always use more, right? That's an area that I would welcome more information. I believe, you know, a lot of times we're referring to Cherokee. But again, we always welcome more. And a lot of times with the developmental piece, of course, it's, you know, we're referring to Tennessee Early Intervention or Child Fine. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does, absolutely. So I'll just go ahead and plug it because upstairs right now we're training, I think, 12 different clinicians in East Tennessee in parent-child interaction therapy for toddlers.
Okay.
Specifically for toddlers. And so it focuses on in line very much with what you're saying. The work y'all are doing, you know, like it's attunement and attachment and helping the parent, you know, have this efficacy and engaging their kid. It builds off that, but it's for, you know, it's when they're concerned kind of maybe beyond what y'all are doing. So anyways, if you have families that you feel like they need a little more, let me know if we can connect you to some clinicians in the area. Helen Ross McGavin, Frontier, and Susanna Fouts are training some therapist stuff right now, upstairs right now. So.
Okay, awesome. Now, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There is one thing that is coming down the path really for us and it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. The state is implementing what they're calling a warm line. And so a warm line, from my understanding, again, it's not been implemented, but it's coming next month. They have a mental health therapist that, let's say a parent educator has been working with a family and they're struggling to, you know, figure out how to help. And there's a parent educator has talked to me, has talked to the supervisor. We just don't know, right? We've done all the referrals we can or that we know to do. Then that person is a person that home visitor can call to touch base to get, you know what I mean, some more help. It's a little different. I mean, I do understand why they're trying to do that. It's definitely important, but I don't really know what it's going to exactly look like yet because it hasn't happened.
That sounds like it potentially could be a great resource. Yeah,
absolutely.
There's another question in the chat. It's so thank you for all of those. What qualifies a family? Is there anything that precludes a family, like a referral to TEIS? And also, did I miss how long the wait list is? And I think you had said the wait list was like 12 to 15 families, but I'm curious, what does that look like time-wise potentially?
Yeah, so yeah, it's about 12 to 13 families. So time-wise, that's going to be the longest that they're going to wait is going to be July 1 because we graduate families in June. And so then July comes, then we start to get, you know, to assign. As far as that's a really great question too. You know what, I completely missed that as far as, you know, what would make them not. Well, as long as they have all those things, and then, but if you had a family that had chant, for instance, because we get the same dollars, so we can't serve them. If you have a family that has healthy families, same dollars, so we can't serve them. Now, TEIS is fine. We could serve them. We could serve families that are involved in like Head Start, early Head Start. That's not an issue, but it's more those ones that I just mentioned.
Thank you so much for answering all these questions. I wonder, does anybody else have any other questions? Comment? Well, thank you so much for presenting on this today. This again, and thanks for everything you do. This program is phenomenal, and I want all of our I want all of our moms and families to get this early on, so that so that those of us on the foster care side and DPS side of things have less to do later on, right? That's effective prevention work. So hopefully we can funnel some families to you all to create some better outcomes. I want to remind everybody that there is a link in the chat right now for the survey. So that's how you're going to get your certificate of participation today. Please fill out the survey. Let us know what you thought. Let us know suggestions of topics and speakers. And for anyone, if you have colleagues who you think would benefit from this and hearing this information, we're going to post a recording of this on our YouTube channel, but I'll also email that out to you all whenever we've posted that, so you all can know. Please share this information. Again, I want to get as much information out there as I can about this program. I think it's excellent. And then hopefully that way people will continue to support Christel and help her grow her program so that they can continue to serve more families. Next month, we will, we'll meet again on the third Friday, which is going to be May the 19th. And next month, we're going to have Karen Broadnax talk to us. She's going to talk to us from DCS, our local Knox County DCS, to just talk to us about kind of basic structure of DCS and updates on things that they're doing, kind of the status of DCS right now, which I think will be helpful. Good to get a check-in every once in a while. But thank you all so much for joining us today. If you have any questions or anything comes up later, please don't hesitate to send us an email, and hope you all join us next month. Have a good day.